My guest today is Billie Moore, and Billie is a longtime basketball coach. She is in more than one basketball Hall of Fame, including the most important ones, and she won AIAW titles at Cal State Fullerton. She also won an AIAW title at the University of California, Los Angeles, and she's also the coach of the U.S. Olympic team in 1976. And that was what I wanted to talk to her about today, was a little bit about that and the impact that has had on women's basketball. So first of all, give us an idea of why that 76 team was so significant.
Well, right, first of all, I think a lot of people don't realize is that United States had not qualified for Montreal, so we had to go to Hamilton, Ontario, with 22 other countries and try to qualify for 2 spots. And we did, and they won the gold medal there, and played very well, played extremely. And I think it was us and Bulgaria that qualified to go on then and for the Olympics. And so for there to be the first time that women's basketball is in the Olympics, and for the United States to be one of the first teams, and then for it to be in Canada, I think because it was that close, it had a tremendous growth impact on basketball in the United States. For the first time, it was like it got coverage. And I think it became a really springboard for a lot of the collegiate programs. Well, once you get the collegiate programs going, then that becomes an impetus for the feeder programs, for the junior high school, the junior high, the AAU, the high school programs in, to improve the opportunities. And so that was an exciting time, and obviously for us to then medal was one of the great experiences. I said there was no question that they overperformed. They didn't know it, but they overperformed, and they walked. They will always have very fond memories of that experience in Montreal.
Today, we think of the United States as a world power in women's basketball, the dominant force. At that time, though, that really wasn't the case. When she says they overachieved, that's what she's talking about. What did it take for you guys to get a silver medal?
Well, we, as I said, first of all, we had to qualify because we had not finished higher than 8th in the qualifying things to get into Montreal. And we lost the opening round to Japan, and which was probably the biggest disappointment, and one of the biggest disappointments in my career internationally, was to lose that first game, because I felt like that was a team game that we should have won, but we didn't. But much to their credit, we bounced back. We brought ourselves back to where we were able to play then and have a chance to medal. And they knew what was at stake, and the chance. When you think about these young ladies came from all over the country. Many of them, it was the first time. I remember Lucy Harris was an All-American from Delta State, little Delta State, Mississippi. Never been on an airplane before. Getting involved in international. This was her first time out of the country. All of these kind of things, and they responded so well, and they won, and it was a tremendous accomplishment. The Soviet Union, still was by far the dominant team, but I think it gave us a first-hand look at, okay, this is where we have to get as a country if we want to be the best. And 76 team helped us identify this is what we need. And what was it then in 80? In 80, the Olympics was boycotted. We did not go to Russia. In 84, Russia did not come. Soviet Union did not come to LA. In 88 was then the first time we could basically get together and do it. By 88, we were the gold medal winner. Then in 92, same thing. And so we've replaced the Soviet. Now the rest of the world is chasing us. But as 40 years ago, we were chasing the Soviet Union. We were quite a ways behind.
The team that Billie coached had some tremendous players on it. Names you would have heard of, Hall of Famers like Nancy Lieberman, Pat Head, later Pat Head Summit. Give us an idea of where women's basketball was at that time and why it needed this boost.
Well, it was still dominated, Russ, by what I would call, now would be a lot of Division II schools. I mean, Delta State, Cal State Fullerton, even Old Dominion. Those were the UT Martin, I mean, those were the teams, Southern Connecticut, those were the teams who would go to the Final Four because what you would call, what are now called the Power 5 conferences, were really not putting much emphasis on women's basketball. And I think the start of that was after Montreal. We kind of then, we had that, it was, you know, we were 4 years into Title IX, so we had Title IX enacted, we had Montreal in the Olympics became a springboard. Pretty soon, then the major colleges started saying, hey, you know, maybe we should pay attention to the women's game, and they started putting the resources in it, started putting the support, and I think today then you know what's happened to the collegiate game.
And it's been amazing progress and lots of opportunities for lots of people. It's gotten to the point, those of you who might have attended the Women's Final Four in North Texas last year got to see what a big deal it has really become.
Yes. Well, I always said you could, people used to say, when will women's basketball arrive? And I said, when you can't show up that day of the game and get a ticket, then we know we have arrived. And so the national championships have been sold out for a long time, so that's wonderful. And then I think I'll feel like when it's really arrived, when I can say the same thing about the WNBA, that you cannot just come in the day of the game and get a ticket, then maybe we've gotten women's basketball to the level it deserves.
And it's clearly a ton of progress, and a lot of credit goes to what the folks did in 1976. Billie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
With Billie Moore for the Fort Worth Weekly, I'm Rush Olson.